we should start with the general ones?
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
Okay. The first one may not apply this year. It's please ensure that the presentation is more structured.
Does not apply.
Okay. The second one, continue efforts to diversify the board by race, gender, and age. The board's current composition is 10 whites and 2 Black/African Americans, 10 males and 2 females, 1 member age 26-39, 5 members age 40-54, and 6 members age 55 and above. And my comment was, all of a sudden, they've gone back to only 6 on their board, which is disturbing to me.
Yeah, me too.
First of all, boards need to be a odd number, not an even number. And they definitely need more than 6 people, from my nonprofit experience.
If they said, you brought that up because they hadn't changed their bylaws, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, that is correct. The bylaws still stay what they say. And when I brought it up, they just kind of said, well, yeah, we're trying to find more board members. So.
I'll just add what's applicable specific to, as far as diversification of its members. I'll add whatever's applicable to this statement and finish it off. Okay. So the next comment, Nancy. Nancy, you got to start over. You're muted.
Sorry, so many plates in the air here. The other general comments are all about funding. So should we go to them or go to programs and then come back to funding, or finish general comments, or how do you want to do that?
We can do the funding, since there's several, and it sounds like they're general to the organization. And then, so why don't you go ahead and do the ones that are general to the organization, and the one that's specific to CHSB funding requests, we'll put that, we'll deal with that at the appropriate time. Okay.
Okay. All righty.
Okay.
To ensure sustainability, it is important for the agency to diversify its funding streams. The majority of the grants and fundraising activities listed in the fundraising and resource development plans were outdated. Now, my observation was that they did list funding and resource plans that were current, were from 2019. So I think they probably responded to that from my point of view.
Okay, so
I think I need to go back and look, but I think I have down here that the majority of the grants are outdated, and only about 2,500 of the grants are this current year.
Okay.
So I need to go look and see.
I mean, just looking at their current year, they're seem pretty. I mean, with between program fees and the state funding, and then you've got CHSP, and they've got some United Way, so seems like they're okay.
Okay. I noticed that. Go ahead, Dr. Fields.
Okay, I was just looking at the grants that they say they're going to do this year. They applied for one back in May 19. One was, they have one down for December 2018. Neither one of these did they get money for last year, haven't gotten anything this year. One was applied, they applied for a grant back in 2015. And I guess I don't know whether these are longstanding grants or what. I don't understand. But there are only two that were applied for this fiscal year, and that was one January 1st and January 20th this year. And they equal together $2,500.
Yeah, I don't know how their DCF, I know DCF went to 3-year funding, but that would still make that, what they have there as 2015 still old. But on their current budget, they show that same state amount in state funding. So I wonder if that's somewhat automatically renewable. Yeah, I don't know, leaves it kind of open-ended, but it seems as if they still have it for this year.
Yeah. They, if you go to the narrative section of the grants writing, the form number for the fundraising and grant writing plans, they actually state that the Department of Children and Family is a multi-year grant. So that was clarified in that section. But you still have some old grants because you got a grant from 2018 in here. So I put here to ensure sustainability, continue efforts to diversify funding resources, and then please only include current grants.
And they don't need to include CHSP anyway.
They can if they want to. It's kind of discretionary. That's kind of a discretionary one.
Okay, because I was told not to.
Oh, okay. I would have said either way is fine. 'Cause you're still applying for a grant.
Right.
So
That's what I thought until I was told not to.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry for the conflict of information. But it's still grant writing efforts. Anything else, Nancy, for general agency wide?
Yeah, there's one more. It says in the next CHP funding cycle, please provide an update of the amount of revenues generated through the Capital Health Plan partnership. And that's nowhere on here, so I don't even know what that refers to. An old partnership that no longer exists, maybe?
When you see it the way it's written, it's because the agency would have stated that was a new fundraising pursuit, trying to become so they could actually be able to collect on insurance, clients that have insurance. So they're saying, if the comment is basically saying they're pursuing this, and that was last year's comment. Last funding cycle's comment. So it is applicable. And if we go into their, if we actually go into the budget worksheets for example, if we look at current budget worksheets, you can find out if there's any revenue from Capital Health Plan included. You might be able to see that. I don't know.
I'm looking at it right now. There's something called miscellaneous / other income. I suppose it could be hidden in there.
Let's see what that's a non-CHSP program. Yeah. Let's see what it says. Yeah, that's not Capital Health Plan. So I'll just put Capital Health Plan again. Okay. Anything else, Nancy, or we can go?
There's a lengthy one, and it's still funding, but it's general. The funding request sections of the application, i.e. Form 5, Section 1.1 CHSP funding request, Section G, budget information justification, must include a detailed physical breakdown of the request. The
Okay.
following statement noted in 1.1 is too vague. This is for salaries and benefits. For example, list the salaries and benefits of each staff position and state the specific amount of CHSP funding applied to each of these positions. Also clarify how staff salaries are allocated across the two programs. And my comment to me was, this isn't much better. It's a lot of noise. It just lists the different categories for spending, wages and FICA, et cetera, no amounts or percentages. It's a little better, but not much. And apparently that applies to both programs.
We go to those programs and look at the program design. We'll look at the funding requests too to see whether or not they met that, whatever comment you want to list for that was applicable. So let's look at just to kind of keep a little order since we have two programs. Any other general agency-wide comments that your teammates have or you have to add to this list? Any other general comments about the agency?
I don't know if we want to put this in the, but basically the cost per client question that came up about whether we were treating the individual student or the.
I think that's in the IOP program.
Okay, I'm sorry if that was.
Not in SIP. Yeah.
That's okay. I'll put a footnote in that section for cost per client. Let's go ahead and go to program since we've started. We can always come back. Which is the first? Let's look at the first program. So the first program that we need to look at. I'm just going to do it in the order. And let's start with intensive outpatient. Okay.
Okay, the first comment is recognizing how essential it is to involve parents in the treatment process, explore ways to increase parental participation, and address transportation barriers. And the whole issue of having that $3,000 per client cost, including the parents, maybe that's the way they addressed it.
No, that's a different type of comment than what you just read. I don't see those are different issues.
Right.
So
I just have not addressed in my notes that they didn't address that at all.
okay.
But maybe somebody else found a place.
Give me that. Hold on, I want to kind of do a color when you do something. I want to color code this so I can know the difference between the two programs. Okay. So give me that comment one more time, Nancy, so we can start looking at the comments for intensive outpatient.
Okay. Recognizing how essential it is to involve parents in the treatment process, explore ways to increase parental participation, and address transportation barriers. That's comment A under intensive outpatient.
Did they mention anything about increasing parental participation and transportation in the program description that they provided, so we can find out, because they could have narratively discussed it. There's a question in there that's specific to outreach and retention of clients. It may be in there.
Funding.
It says that parental involvement positively impacts, but it doesn't address anything about increasing parental involvement as a
I don't find it.
factor from last year.
Okay, so we'll keep that. The next one, Nancy.
In reference to the long-term outcome finding, this is in the data collection table. So are we ready to go there? Is that what we want to do? Yes.
Yes. We'll go ahead and go in the order that you mentioned the comments.
Okay. In reference to the long-term outcome findings stated in the outcome data collection table, explain what specific methods are used to determine that the client has, quote, remained drug-free 6 months and 1 year after treatment, close quote. Are you using self-reports or urinalysis to confirm this finding? And they did state that they're using urinalysis. That's definitely there.
In order to verify that, we have to actually look at the outcome data collection table and find out, did they actually report it? Because if it's not in the application, then we don't have that information. So they're asking them to report back in the outcomes, the urinalysis findings to validate that the program was effective. So we actually have to go into the measurement. We can go into the outcome data collection table, and we can also look at the measurement framework to see if they're going to deal with it in the future.
Right, and they have urinalysis report as the data source in both short-term and long-term instances. It's not the only method, but that is now listed as to get results.
I think I'm in the wrong section. Hold on.
This is section 1.7 program outcome measurement framework.
Oh, I was in the outcome data collection table. Let's do that first.
Okay.
Yeah, it's in the outcome data collection table. The first one, the short term, says 97% of 30 unduplicated clients completed 8 weeks of daily treatment had negative urinalysis, indicating they are drug alcohol free.
Right.
So how about long term? Because ultimately, is urinalysis throughout the thread of the outcomes, including particularly the long term?
Long term says that 1.57% of 7, in parentheses 4, unduplicated clients who successfully completed the program have remained drug-free or significantly decreased drug use at 3 months and 1 year. Doesn't say anything about urinalysis.
Okay, so that recommendation has still not been addressed in the long-term outcome findings. Okay.
Right.
Let's look at measurement to see if they're proposing to address the issue.
Yeah, that's the table that I was on.
Looks like they have it down here as going to do it in long term and short term.
Right. That's the table I was looking at. Council will gather. I just have a problem with this table in general, that measurable outcome indicators in long term, they're only shooting for 1.5%, or no, that's 50%. Okay. But they got so few of them in the actual outcome. I just wonder about this program. 57%. I guess what I really mean is there are just so few clients. Such
Mhm.
a large expenditure, such a huge expenditure of money. It's only 7 clients. It's just, and only 10 this year, 10 kids.
Since we're referring to how many clients are served, you're concerned about the number of clients served. Let's look at the cost per client rate.
Yeah, this is the one where we had the extended discussion about the cost per client, going back and forth with them because they list a $3,000 plus cost per client. But that includes all the family members also, even though their definition of a client does not include the family member. So if you, it becomes very costly. It becomes very costly if there are only 10 clients. Now, having said that, I would like to comment that I'm familiar with intensive outpatient programs in the hospital setting, where you actually have to pay for it, and they are incredibly expensive. So I do understand it costs a lot of money for this kind of one-on-one service. I get that.
So let's see, did anybody calculate the cost per client rate to see what it even using their methodology to see if it's correct? Let's say they said if they client demographics, so they're, let me make sure you might not.
I think they say 30 clients.
So 30 clients were served.
28, I think, actually.
And I think they're actually
Kids and
10
18 family
kids
members.
that were served, and then 8 to the other family members.
18 family members, that's right.
Well, the demographics say 30, 28 white, 1 black, 1 multiracial.
So if you subtract, if you divide 30 into the overall budget, if someone else could look at that figure as well to make sure that figure is correct. So let's check the figure that was provided. And you would use the client demographics in the last fiscal year's budget of $112,000. 737. So even that. So I think they rounded the figure or something. So what do you get when you actually divide the entire budget into the 30 clients? If it's the 10, we know it's about 11,000 per year. And we don't know how many households that are being served. Okay.
I get 3,700, a little bit higher than that 3,007.
Okay. So is there any comment to be made about the cost per client rate? Is there any comment that you as a committee would like to make? And you don't have to if you don't choose to.
Well, my first comment would be, you need to define your client. If your clients are both children and family members, then that needs to be in your client description. They kept defending that as we cannot deal with the child without dealing with the whole family, and DCF apparently has some requirements about that. And I'm not arguing with that. Whatever their client is what their client is. But they're saying their clients are kids, ages 11 to 18, or whatever the age group is. I can't remember. And then they count the parents as clients, and that just is, that's dissonant to me. I can't, it just feels inaccurate. And that's got nothing to do with the money. That has to do with who your client is.
Right. So and it seems the same way to me. That's why I asked the question, because I just couldn't understand how they had these clients in these upper age brackets, but they say they were dealing with 11 to 18-year-olds.
Right.
The only place where I saw that they mentioned the family members as clients is in that justification under the program budget. Section 1.2.
Well, the bottom line is if you go to define the program's target population in section
Right.
1.4,
That's the one.
the application itself states the clients of the program, and it says youth ages 11 to 18. So
That's my point, is define your
Right.
target population.
Okay.
Just for starters. Even if it only costs $1 a piece, that issue's different.
So during the just to make sure I get it clear, during the presentation, they stated that the target population was or is the children and the parents, the entire household.
Yes, because I asked them the question. I said that they state that their client population is from 11 to 18-year-old, yet they have people there who are 50-something years old. So, how is that? And that's what the answer was, that their parents are also included because they have to come to the group too.
Okay, all right. Anything else? Let's see. Oh, the funding request. Let's look at the funding request for this program since we're in this particular section of the application. So we'll look at the funding the request for CHSP funding. Let's see. And I think Nancy, you did state a concern about the CHSP funding request earlier. Was there a comment about the CHSP funding request regarding intensive outpatient and the award letter for the you're on mute, Nancy.
The application, I can't see my screen, so I apologize that I don't realize what I'm doing here. Okay, the funding request sections of the application, and they specifically reference the justification for the CHSP funding request, must include a detailed fiscal breakdown of the request. So they list, for example, the salaries and benefits of each staff position. They just say salaries and benefits. They don't say percentages or anything. And that was the criticism. And then we look at this year's application, and they list the different categories for spending, wages, FICA, et cetera, but no amounts or percentages. They really did not answer the question. They named the positions. That's in the general comments, number 7. Pat, if you need that reference. And obviously applied to both programs.
Anything else specific to the intensive outpatient program that you guys would like for me to state? For example, we do need to look in at the application that they provide current local data that documents the need for the program, that they clearly describe the program so that you know if you were putting your child in that program, what happens to the child from the point of intake to the point of termination of services. So we need to answer those questions as well.
I noticed they were asking, I mean, their CHSP ask is kind of small at 12, even though it's an increase. But overall, from last year to this year for that program, they're increasing, and they've talked about on this, the justification adding staff, but their deliverables or their outcome looks the same from what I could tell.
Okay. You went back into the CHSP funding request. So let's see. Because Arun is going back to the funding request. So in the narrative, they give some narrative about why they are asking for additional funding.
They don't.
They do. They do speak to a wait list of 3 clients. I'm looking at the CHSP funding request, section 1.1 of the application. So that first item 1, justification for CHSP funding, they do have some narrative in there. You just have to determine, does that give you the narrative to justify the funding increase, which is small, as Arun was stating.
The funding increase is $8,000, right?
Arun, oh, it's 8,000. So that's
Only, like I said, it's very small for their CHSP ask, but overall funding there for that program is increasing about 13,000. But it just says they're adding additional staff because of the requests and referrals. Their outcome measures are the same number. It just seems like they should be adding, you know, I mean, if you're adding staff to keep up with the additional referrals, your numbers would go up.
okay. Okay. So we've done that program. We do need to look at whether or not they justified the need for the program and documentation of need. And did they clearly describe the program model? In the application, that's section 1.4, programs, target population, and documentation of need, which is section B in that subsection.
Looking at it, my concern is that they say that they don't have a particular target population, but really they do. It's young people who are suffering from substance abuse and mental health issues. And they did support the program description with a lot of statistics, even including 2017 Leon County data from FDOH. But there was nothing to the effect of why like family treatment model would be most effective, like nothing kind of directly tying into what the stated goals are. Or I guess what I would expect to see is why intervention at that age is more effective or the best approach.
Really confused.
11 to 18.
And all their data, they have 13 to 18, 15 to 19, but no one over that age.
They also project 50 unduplicated clients for the next year. And again, that's going to be family members. Presumably, they're not going to go from 10 kids to 50, I don't think.
Okay. Did they talk about how the program serves the family? For example, when you see the description of the program, if this program is a family focused model, does it include activities and specifies activities that are specific to the youth as well as the family's involvement in the description of the program delivery? Because that would be a question based on some of the concerns that you have.
It says something about improved family. One of the goals is to improve family relations and communication.
So does the program description describe how they do that? Like what are specific family activities that would yield that outcome, that goal?
Question number 4 speaks to it a little bit.
You want to read that, Rachel, since you're in that section?
Yeah, it says the intake is conducted with adult support persons. Adult meets with the counselor to complete the paperwork. The adult is given a parent handbook, and the adolescent receives a client handbook with rules, and meets with the counselor of the group, where the peers will help explain the program, talk on a daily routine, and introduce themselves. Then it just outlines what the expectation is for level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4.
But it doesn't say what they do with parents, because I mean, you could drop your kid off to school for the first day of school and you may get a handbook. Yeah. That doesn't mean that you're in class with the kid.
And let me see what section I'm looking at. In the budget information justification for the funding request, which is section 1.1, in the budget information, there's a specific statement, and I think this is the crux of the problem. Funding received from the Florida Department of Children and Families via a SAMHSA block grant must be utilized for actual services. And then they list them: 1 hour of individual counseling, 1 hour of family counseling per week, 3 hours of group counseling daily for each client, 1 hour of counseling preparation per week, and billing submission, certain agency overhead associated with billing. So in that whole service description, there's 1 hour of family counseling per week that is required to get the money from this federal block grant. So once again, they're including every single family member in addition to the child as a client in order probably to be able to justify to DCF the SAMHSA money they're getting. But what is 1 hour of family counseling per week? I don't see anywhere in the whole application where that is defined. Do you go in the home? Do you meet them at school? Do they come to you? What do you do in a counseling session? I understand why they're including the parents. You know, they got to do that to get this money, but I hate to keep harping on this, but it just, the whole thing sounds like smoke and mirrors to me.
Nancy, you're saying that they did have this information in the somewhere else in the application, because what you just described, it's not in the program description, but it's in a different part of the application, right?
It is in program information, section 1.1, CHSP program funding request justification.
Okay.
Number 3, if there are funding restrictions regarding how agency funds can be used to support the program.
Okay. All right. Okay. I think we've already done outcome data collection table, right? Because we were.
Yes.
Okay. All right, let's go to, are you ready to go to the other program now? The school-based counseling program?
Okay, do we do an impact of COVID in this program?
Yeah, yes. Did they make it specific to the program or agency-wide?
Agency-wide. They did agency-wide.
I don't think I remember program specific.
They said they lost a lot of their school program, and they're able to keep about half of they were able to keep half of the children through, I can't read my writing. Through telehealth. So they lost a lot of their school programs, but they were able to keep half of their children through telehealth, using telehealth.
They lost
How about they
2/3.
kept all of their IoT? They went from one group a day. Well, I mean, they went from 2 groups a day to 1 group a day.
You said they went from, Arun, you said they went from 1 group to 2 groups per day?
I would know the opposite. They went from 2 groups to 1 group a day.
They were able to hire a counselor from their student group. They were unable to do camp this summer.
Okay, let's see what else I have. They also said they lost funding, didn't they? Because it's dependent on how many people they serve. Hired 1 student intern.
Yeah, they said they lost some funding. Had been reduced.
I have that they lost 2/3 of their block grant funds, but they did receive PPP.
Okay. So they got, what kind of funding was that? They got some other specialized funding to respond to COVID?
They said they lost their block, 2/3 of their block grants.
Okay.
They received PPP and lean. It's the local one,
Yeah, that's that.
LEAN.
Yeah, that's that $2,500 grant. Okay.
And that's when they were able to hire a counselor for their student group.
So hired one student intern to provide what service? I'm just curious about the model in general. This is just an information interest question I'm about to ask Dr. Fields. Is that the normal practice in the university settings or schools or counseling settings that they hire the students to do the counseling in those various programs?
I was
that
looking.
a normal practice?
No, I was looking at it as they hired someone from their student group. I was thinking that they meant that this was an intern and then they hired this person after graduation. Because as long as they are a student, then there isn't hire. I mean, even with doctoral interns, they get a stipend. They're not like full staff people. And I'm sure I'm sure these are master's level students who are getting a degree in social work, I think she said.
Okay.
So answer to your question is no.
Okay, I was curious. Anything else to do with the COVID-19 response? I think we got significant loss of the school program. However, they were able to continue to serve about 1/2 of the youth utilizing telehealth. They went from conducting 2 groups, I guess group counseling sessions per day to 1 per day. They cannot, of course, the summer camp program was canceled. And they also lost 2/3 of their block grant funding. Anything else in that section before we go to the other school-based program? So we'll go to the school-based. So let me.
Okay, you want me to read from the
Give me
board
about
letter?
1 second to set it up. I have the color code so I can keep it. And I want to save too. Okay, we're going to start moving faster. It takes a lot longer when you have 2 programs. Okay, we're ready for the school-based, Miss Nancy.
Okay, it says by providing mental health and counseling services in the school setting, the program is addressing an important community need. The second comment, the short-term and intermediate outcome findings noted in the outcome data collection table are activities/outputs. Outcome findings demonstrate how the program directly benefited its clients during or after involvement with the program. Outcomes may relate to knowledge, skills, attitudes, values, condition, or status. Please contact Pat Holliday for consultation. My question would be, did they contact Pat Holliday?
No, ma'am.
Okay, that answers that.
Let's look at, since we're on outcomes, well, before we even get there, let's look at, did they clearly document the need for the program, Lauren? So we look at documentation of need and clearly define the target population. And then we'll move on to the outcomes next, Nancy.
It looks like the same as their other program where they said they don't target a specific population, but it's kind of contradictory.
Wait a minute. What section? Let's go to that because that all programs, social services programs, target a target population. So they do say at risk for substance abuse or violence. I'm looking at I'm in section 1.1, programs target population documentation of need. And I'm reading that it states that they K through 12 youth who are identified as at risk for substance misuse, abuse, or violence.
Am I construing that with number 2 that says a special needs population? Probably.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
My apologies.
Oh, that's okay. I always go back and read everything and verify before and if I can't verify a comment, we will remove it. So that's not a problem. It gets caught if it is.
Can I just like ask a clarifying point there? Because the client demographics is one thing. At risk, I don't know. I guess I just. Okay, don't worry about it.
They could have. I mean, I think it's just a matter of how the program, how they actually have I see what you're saying, the comment that's in the special needs section. Yeah.
What section are we in?
We're in section 1.4, programs target population. So we'll say that they clearly define the target population.
I think so.
And now let's look at the program description to see if we can, if you or I or anyone were to put their kids in the program, do they clearly explain what happens from the point of intake to the point of closure of the program? So that would be your program. I jumped you out of something, but we'll go ahead and go there. So we're looking at the program description right now, and whether or not the program is clear, the goals, objectives of the program.
I think this section of the application is pretty well done. So if I were a parent, it's a lot of information.
Okay. Does it tell how frequently a child gets the service, Nancy?
5 days a week, they say.
That's they said the program is conducted 5 days a week. I'm asking, does it say per child how often the frequency that the child gets that service? It's operated 5 days a week and according to the school year. So that's just how many days. But if I'm trying to narrow down if you can tell what services each child receives. Because if you look at this, the narrative about this question, this section should clearly portray what happens to a client from the point of enrollment through completion of the program. It's about it's really focused on the client and the direct services provided.
I don't see that identified, and I see that they offer parent workshops, but it doesn't say anything about the frequency either.
I got something here that says after 12 weeks of counseling, client's progress is evaluated and are either discharged or recommended to a higher or longer level of care.
We'll just add that. And I don't know if they, but just because what you're trying to do is know what the intensity and frequency of services are, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay. So next, and I kind of we'll go back in the other section. We need to find out, did they clearly document the need for the program by giving local data? So that would take us, I think, back into section 1.4 of the application. And that would be section B in that category, documentation of need. I think it's the same data for the other program. The Florida Youth Substance Abuse Survey instrument that was administered in 2018.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
It says it's modeled after another SAMHSA program, but I don't see why it's beneficial, particularly in a school setting,
Hmm.
to help coordinate services for a student in one place.
Hmm. Let's see, provided local data.
It says it targets K-12 youth are identified as at risk, and then it says students are identified by school administrative personnel, social
Okay.
workers, psychologists, teachers, and self-referral.
Okay.
Seems to be the way they get their kids.
Okay. So here, let's see. Local data document issues impacting you. So the next thing we're going to do with the school-based one is look now, Nancy, anything else? Okay, let's look at the outcome data collection table now for this program. Section 1.6.
Still in Form 2.
And I think, yeah, we're looking at school-based programs, and we're in section 1.6 of the application. And
6. Okay, got it.
1.6. And I think Nancy had a comment from last year's review team regarding outcomes. You want to read that to the group one more time, Nancy, please?
Yes. The short-term and intermediate outcome findings noted in the outcome data collection table are activities/outputs. Outcome findings demonstrate how the program directly benefited its clients during or after involvement with the program. Outcomes may relate to knowledge, skills, attitudes, values, condition, or status. Please contact Pat Holliday for consultation. So the outcome data collection table is what they're talking about here. It's not this.
I think the outcomes table is really well done.
Yeah, this is section 1.7. That's the outcomes. And if there are no other comments, there's another finding about, or another comment about long-term outcomes that I can read, as long as we're on this table. Should I do that?
Yes, go ahead, Nancy. I'm sorry.
Okay. The 3 long-term outcomes do not include measurable standards. For example, the agency reported the following outcome finding. 60% of 200 students, or 120, who presented a deficit in the number of discipline referrals at the initiation of services had a lower number of referrals at the conclusion of services. And the comment is that that's not a measurable standard.
So that comment would be still true, because even and they would be good, but you got to have a measurable standard. So if you say higher GPA, what does that mean? Because in order to pass, we try to base those kinds of academic performance measures based on what the school assumes it is acceptable for you to get promoted to the next grade level, for example, or to be on track with whatever requirements. But it doesn't give you the precise measurement, and that's what so that you don't know when someone is moving from higher improvement in their GPA, what is that measurement that you're looking for?
So
Okay.
just a lower number of referrals would not be a measurement? Just a lower
You
number
don't
of
know
referrals?
you don't know what that means. That's the only problem, is if it's lower, what is the measurement that you're showing success? It's just it's challenging, but if someone goes from 20 to 18, that would be, you would actually meet that goal, but that kid still would be in trouble.
Right. So they need to really state it. They want to have 75% fewer referrals or something like that.
Yeah, or just
lower.
whatever that. And there's a standard where you have to go to school so many days or you fail. Just using the actual educational standards that are built into the school system itself for what is considered failure and what is considered on track for a child.
Got it.
And that's what that comment is referring to.
And as far as I can tell, the language they use here is exactly the same that the U team last year had a problem with. They didn't change it at all.
Okay, let's go to now. We also have to look at the CHSP funding request for this program, school-based program. Is there anything else that you would like for me to add in this section for school-based before we go on to the funding? Nope. So let's go to the funding requests in the application so we can make a statement about that.
Well, they did report their salary information wrong. Looks like they duplicated both programs. Neither of them quite match up to the compensation line.
Let me go to that. So it's the same issue with this. Arun, I'm looking at section 1.1, the CHSP funding request. And can you repeat your comment? So I noticed the same, I think Nancy spoke about that the request still, they did not provide a breakdown of the expenditures of the request.
Right. Yeah.
And then you, Arun, you noted another concern. Can you restate that?
Yeah, on the budget section, if you go to the salary information sheet, under the two programs, A and B, they just, looks like they basically copied the same information in both, which is clearly not correct.
Trying to assess the, when you say that, just kind of want to make sure I'm looking at the budget worksheet of the salary information worksheet right now. And I am seeing a different amount. So are you comparing that to the budget worksheet, or are you just looking at the salary information worksheet, Arun? I'm trying to make sure I'm.
Well, both. So at the bottom, do you see, so for column A, under the salary, it says 101,000. And then also for column B, it's the exact same amount, 101,000. You're on mute, Pat.
I'm looking at this program. Let's make sure I'm in the right one. But I'm looking at it and it says column B is 105,000 for salaries. Column one, I'm looking at the salary information worksheet, Arun, and column A is saying 101 and column B is 105,000.
Let me see. Oh, well, that's different. Okay. Well, maybe whatever I printed off, maybe I didn't match it off correctly. Interesting. Huh.
Yeah, that's what I see
Whatever
on.
I printed off, it has the agency total correct, but it doesn't, it looks like the subsequent sheet looks off. Okay. Well, I'm looking at the live app or the online one, and that does look different.
I just saw what you saw. It's the salary.
Okay.
Yeah, the salary information worksheet is not in agreement with the budget worksheet. That's what you're saying, Arun. I know when you go back, but yeah, that's what you're saying is inconsistent because there's no, because the amount that's recorded in the budget worksheet has to be more than what's in the salary information worksheet. And if you notice, program A was 101,000, but if you look at it on the budget worksheet for the current year, it says 65,000. So that's what he's speaking about. That those are inconsistent. So okay.
As far as the justification, it seems reasonable, although it is a large increase. The only thing that I wasn't sure, so on the justification for the funding request, it says they have a wait list of 30 clients. Then I'm looking at what they say in their outcome measures. It looks like they're trying to go from 126 to 250.
This is for the school-based program?
This is a school-based, yeah.
Okay.
So just a little bit of discrepancy there if the wait list is 30. And I don't know, wait list, does that mean like constantly a wait list? So maybe not for an entire year.
Let me see. Program information. And so they're asking a huge increase. 3,000. Yeah, what do you guys want me to write in there for CHSP funding requests? Or you're fine with what you already have? Because we do need to move. I don't know what to tell you, to be honest with you. So that's why I'm not making a comment because I'm not quite sure.
Let's just move on.
Okay, all right. Do you want me to summarize it or just move on?
No, let's summarize it like we normally do.
Okay, so overall agency strongly recommend that the agency strengthens its board by adding more members, et cetera, to ensure sustainability, continue efforts to diversify funding resources, and make sure you only include current grants in this section. Second year request is to give us an update on their on how they're securing additional money through capital health plan partnership. Intensive outpatient provided local data that documented the need for the program. Need to provide data justifying their intervention model regarding serving the entire family. Describe how the program serves the family in the program description. And just note that this information was included in the federal grant, the CHSP funding request, but not included in the program description. Need to include more details in the program description. Clarify the number of unduplicated clients that the program proposes to serve, because they're saying 50 people, but we don't know, you guys don't know if they're referring to how many youth versus how many family members versus how many households. Explain something about, we kind of went here about explaining the age, why this is the preferred intervention age, right? Is that right?
I think Lauren said that. What proves that this is the preferred age? What research have they done or something like that?
Okay, and I'll fix the language. This was a comment from last year about, again, it still speaks to explain the level of parental involvement in the treatment process so you can better understand the intervention models that they're using. Long-term finding, they still need to include urinalysis testing as part of the documentation that the person is no longer using. I put measurement framework down. I'm going to look at that to see if they've included urinalysis in the long-term outcome. It is concerning that the program serves so few clients. The other clearly define the program's client. We talked about that, the target population. Okay, we've already discussed about the parent and the target population. And basically, in reference to the cost per client, it was difficult to determine the cost per client rate because they have not clearly defined the target population for the program model. School-based program addresses an important community need. They clearly define the target population. They provided local data documenting issues impacting youth. Again, ask them to add additional details in the description model regarding intensity of services, frequency of services, so you can get a good picture how many kids are getting one-on-one, how many are getting group, how often per week. Long-term outcome findings, the problem still exists. Impact of COVID, we've already kind of talked, I already summarized that for you. Intensive outpatient, they did not provide a breakdown of the CHSP funding requests and noted that although they're The agency has asked for additional funding. They are still proposing to serve the same level of clients as noted in the measurement framework. School-based, the agency did not provide they did provide a breakdown in the funding request, but not in a chart. So I'll note that. And then the salary information worksheet is inconsistent with the information that was provided in the agency's budget worksheet, applicable budget worksheet. And with that, we'll move on to Capital City Youth Services someplace else. And let's see what else you got. So we're going to have to go. So we'll do good news. I'm sorry, I've been talking so much. I'm almost talking over myself. But good news outreach. So we'll start with that program, and we'll go into overall agency, and it's all the rest of these agencies. I think only had one program to present that are much more simpler models. So hopefully it won't take us as long to complete these assessments. I like this way better in person.
Yeah, this is miserable.
It feels so cumbersome.
Yeah, this is past miserable to me.
My God.
I keep praying that God would make it go faster.
But it's always been lengthy, but this is just doesn't feel.
It's because we're interacting when we're together, we're eating, we have chocolate candy, we are, all kinds of things we can, it's just a whole different world. No,
Your lunch and snacks are much better than mine. I just got to say that for sure.
Well, mine was a yogurt. Okay. Yeah, well, hey, the main thing is that we're getting it done. But no, every single citizen review team has stated to me, don't you guys even attempt to make this the new normal. We do not like this. Okay.
Okay, you want comments from the award letter? Okay. First one is the CRT strongly encourages the agency to continue its efforts to strengthen and diversify the board by adding members with pertinent skill sets, such as nonprofit management, resource development, grant writing, and real estate.
So let's look and see if they did. Good News Outreach. We'll look at their board composition. Go into section 3 of the first. I see attorney, CPA is on the board, a banker, a couple of attorneys.
A realtor is out there too.
Yeah. I thought they did a pretty good job on this.
Okay, right on. I'm ready now, Nancy, for your next comment.
Continue efforts to develop partnerships with FAMU and TCC.
And we can go to the next one, unless you want to look at the program to see if they've gotten partnerships with the other schools. We can actually just look at their collaboration section of their application. I think in the program description, I think, let's see, where is it, collaboration, that little chart. That's on, if you want to go to that program, it's section 1.5 program description, and go to the chart itself. It shows all of their primary partnerships. FSU, Leon County Health Department, Second Harvest of the Big Bend, Med, Echo, St. Churches.
Yep.
Any comment about their collaborative partnerships? They have quite a few.
It's hard to say because I don't know why they wanted FAMU and TCC to be collaborative partners.
I think because there was a FAMU and on the committee last year, and they were just trying to explore it to see explore if those are possible resources for them as well. But you don't have to repeat that comment unless your committee deems so. You want to read the next comment, Nancy?
Yes. Continue efforts to add credentialed staff as funding becomes available.
Yeah, I had a concern about that, just looking at what their staff pay is, which is extremely low. And then they mentioned the importance of their, like they stressed the importance of their housing director. And the pay for that housing director is like crazy low. Like, I don't know how they're keeping anyone with any, degree or experience in that for any length of time. So yeah, I think that's an ongoing concern.
And it's tied so closely to funding. I mean, presumably they're doing the best they can with the money they have, I guess.
I think that was the basis of the justification for almost 100% increase on their ask this year.
They're trying to separate the housing director from the program person. They need a program person, so that housing director just does housing. But still, he's not being paid enough. I agree with the ruling about that.
But on the other side of that, I thought their ED seemed very, he seemed like he was really turning things around, very proactive, had a really good handle on what needed to get done, and he was very actively in the process of making all those changes.
Okay.
Okay, are you ready? The last general comment is, it is concerning that the agency's liabilities exceed its assets. Recommend the agency develops a strategic plan to address this issue to ensure its sustainability.
Is that comment still applicable for you guys as a committee? Arun in particular?
Yeah. Could you
From what
bank charges?
Yeah.
Can you speak to the level of the bank charges?
They do have a heavy debt load. Yeah, because he said it was mortgage payments, so they own a lot of land or property. So it makes sense, but it looks like they really did consolidate and spin off certain pieces of that. So it looks like they have made some pretty significant, I have a note to myself that they have made pretty significant strides in that area. So I think they're following the plan, or at least they have a plan.
Okay, the other comments have to do with budget and funding issues.
I'm going to go ahead and read those off and we'll see what section that is applicable to, Nancy.
Okay. When completing the funding request sections of the application, i.e. Form 5, Section 1.1, CHSP funding request, Section G, budget information justification for CHSP funding request, a detailed fiscal breakdown of the request must be provided. Although the agency explained the need for funding, which is important, no specific fiscal data was provided. Give a fiscal explanation of what is included in each cost category. For example, identify the specific staff positions and the amount of funding applied to each of those positions. I think they cleaned this up considerably.
Okay. Since we're in that section, we may as well look at it. And are they asking for a significant increase in funding? So we'll talk about, did they justify the need for CHSP for the additional funding? And specific to the section 1.1 and the question that speaks to item 1, justification for CHSP funding request. So did they give you enough detail so that you can also justify the need for additional funding for this program? So you guys need to answer that question as well, okay?
Can't find the place. Section 1. We don't have a Form 5, do we?
That's old language. We revamped the application, so you need to go to section 1.1 of this application.
Yeah, okay.
1.1, so we did note that they gave us a breakdown of the CHSP funding request. Now the question is, did they clearly explain the need for additional funding?
Okay.
That's the question that
In my
you're
opinion,
trying
I
to
think they
answer.
did.
Okay.
I think they did as well.
Me too.
Okay, that's done on that section. Do you guys want to now, let's go into program specific, okay? The same routine. Any program specific comments, Nancy?
Yeah, there's one on outcome findings. That's what you're talking about. Overall, the outcome findings reported in the outcome data collection table are very positive. However, when reporting the long-term outcome finding, define the time frame for this measurement. So,
That's section 1.6 of the application.
Right. Yeah, it says between October 2020 and September 2022. So I guess that's the time frame.
The problem
I
you
was,
have,
I had my what you call it on, I was muted. But this is the measurement framework from this year, and they should have the one from last year giving the outcome.
right, the outcome data collection table is in the present, it's in the future tense, not the past tense. Because if you go to long term, it's saying what the 61 families will reside. Okay. So let's go, any other comments specific to the program, Nancy? So let's go ahead and look at the program, the same items. Program design, did they clearly document the need for the program? Did they clearly define the target population? You guys have already done outcome. Did they clearly describe the program? I need comments from you regarding those sections, those items, okay?
Say that again, Pat, please.
Going back to, now let's look at program design and the various categories that we included. So that's section B on my sheet here that I'm sharing with you, the program design. So comments about the program design. Did the agency clearly document the need for the program? Did they clearly define the target population? Did they clearly describe the program activities, etc.? Things like cost per client rate. Is it a good cost per client rate? Anything specific to the program that you would like for me to mention?
I really like the fact that they rely on the Alice report. I don't know that the Alice report even existed in the last cycle. Might have. I don't know how long it's been around, but this is a pretty much neglected population. We used to call the working poor. I think we serve a population that pretty much nobody else really serves. And most of them are not homeless. They're just fully housed.
That's a good point, Nancy.
I also like the fact that they have now made it possible to have case management by working with ECHO. It is just really hard to maintain housing when you are worried about hanging on to a job. So case management is just critical.
Do you guys think they clearly describe the program, the services provided to the clients?
Yes, I do.
Okay. Okay. So we've got everything pretty much in this category. How about the impact of the COVID-19 regarding the ability of the program to continue to operate? Probably no impact So anything about that section that you would like to include? And that would be the last item before we go to the next agency.
We talked about being $23,223 in outstanding rent because of COVID-19.
Oh, yeah.
There's an eviction moratorium. Had to put a hold on FSU monthly activities. Tried to enforce the no gathering of people and had to remove the basketball goals on the playground.
Okay. Anything else?
Yeah, including percentages, including numbers with percentages. On the measurement framework.
You want to recommend that they include percentages?
And include percentages and numbers with the percentages. Sometimes they have percentages but no numbers. Sometimes they have numbers with no percentages.
Okay. Okay. So are you ready for me to summarize?
Yes.
Okay. So we have, you commended them on strengthening the board, the capacity of the board, continue efforts to professionalize staff. Staff salaries are concerning and speak to retention of staff. The ED appears very proactive and is actively making necessary changes to strengthen the overall agency. Continue efforts to reduce the agency's debt ratio to ensure sustainability. Program design outcome findings speak to future. They're great outcomes, however, and we'll give them that kudos that they're excellent outcome findings and measurable and meaningful. However, they did not report on the data for 18-19. They included extensive data from the Alice report, and you feel like this is a target population that really needs these services. You commend them for partnering with the ECHO as far as strengthening the program by adding case management services. They clearly describe the activities that the program implements and how it serves its clientele. And you want to make sure that the measurement framework consistently includes client numbers as well as percentages. The impact of COVID-19, obviously it impacted their ability to collect rent because there are no eviction, because of the eviction moratorium, as well as people probably losing their jobs or being laid off. They had to hold off on providing various services from FSU, and other support services to the community, but it's the ongoing services. Housing is a permanent need, so the services were continued during this process, and that they're enforcing CDC social distancing recommendations. Regarding the funding request, they provided a breakdown of the CHSP funding request, and they clearly documented and explained the need for additional funding. And with that, I see I missed Capital City Youth Services, so we'll go a little bit backwards. We have Capital City Youth Services to complete and Boys Town. Those are the last two agencies, okay? Do you need a 5-minute break? You ready to, okay?
Let's keep going.
All right. Let's keep going then. So we now, we will do someplace else. Emergency shelter. Okay, I'm ready, Nancy. Let me,
There's one comment. Although the bylaws require the appointment of a vice chairperson on the board of directors, this position was not listed in the application, and that has been done.
what's the next one?
All right, the other two things that are noted are both finance things. When completing the budget worksheets, only include cash, i.e. revenues and expenditures, do not include depreciation. And I believe that that was not included this time, so that one has been done. Arun, correct me if I'm wrong on that. Okay, we're ready for the next one. All right, okay. When completing the funding request sections of the application, CHSP funding request, section G, budget information, justification. A fiscal breakdown of the request must be provided. Although the agency explained the need for the staff positions, which is important, no specific fiscal data was provided. Give a fiscal explanation of what is included in each cost category. For example, identify the specific staff positions and the amount of funding applied to each of those positions. This keeps coming up. But anyway, I think they did it, but I'm willing to be corrected on that. And
Okay,
that's
just
really
looked at
it. That's it for comments, so
Yeah,
take it away.
they did include their depreciation again in the expenses for this year under miscellaneous.
Arun, do you think that recommendation, is that an unreasonable recommendation, or I just wanted to hear your thoughts about that?
I mean, I never do, because that's sort of it's
Okay.
not really a good indicator of cash flow in and out for your operating expenses. So I think it kind of distorts the number. So I personally don't and wouldn't. But I mean, it's not completely false, because there really is depreciation on your books.
We'll bring it as a second year recommendation, okay? Guys, we're ready for you to give us all any comments. So let's start out with any agency-wide comments, and then we'll go to the program, and then we'll go to COVID-19, okay? So I'm just gonna listen for your comments.
I think if we can repeat what the review team said last year, the program serves as a unique and unduplicated function in the community.
You can keep it flowing. You don't need to wait on me, okay? Uh-oh, what did I just do? Lord have mercy. Okay. I touched something for a second and it's like, whoa.
I think they appropriately define their target population and demonstration of need.
Okay. Did they clearly describe the activities, the program itself?
Let's see. Description.
I think so.
I particularly like the way they broke down every single step of their process. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That was really helpful to have it laid out step by step. And where it says describe each program component. Probably the best outlining of that I saw.
Yes. Did a good job.
So let's look at their outcomes now. Outcome data collection table. Oh, I'm in the wrong document. Okay, any comment about the outcome data collection table? Oh. Any
Pretty.
comments?
No, seems pretty good.
It's good objective criteria.
Okay, I just added that one. I added about the long-term outcome needing to have client numbers so that we can consistent to the same comments that we gave other agencies. Okay.
Okay.
With that done, I think the only other point we haven't done regarding the funding request, they are asking for an increase. Do you feel like they clearly, so we need to go back to the funding request? Section 1.1. If you go to that question number 1, directly underneath the chart, did they clearly explain why they're asking for justifying the need for additional CHSP funding? And we're pretty much
yeah, I feel like they were pretty explicit. I mean, the amount of lost revenue versus the increase in health insurance, I think, more than substantiates that minimal increase.
Okay, and now we'll go to COVID-19. Any comments about COVID-19 impact on the program?
They reduced their capacity from 18 to 12.
For social distancing.
Yep.
And I think I remember asking the question, does that mean you're serving fewer people than you ordinarily would? And they said, so far it does not. But it could, though.
Okay.
And also that they have a quarantine area that they can use if they need it, but they haven't needed it, but they do have that. So that's good.
They by their intake screening processes, and are prioritizing youth admitted to the shelter to be those with the most emergent needs.
They had to adjust staffing.
Adjust the staffing in what way?
I have it written here, but I really truly can't understand what I wrote.
I love your truthfulness.
I'm trying to figure it out, but I cannot figure this one out. Sorry about that.
I have the same note. It just says staffing adjustments with nothing else, so you're not alone.
I got it. I remember now because a couple of their staff member tested positive. So that was the impact. Yeah, they did have a couple. I think they had a couple of staff that came out positive. Let's see. Or did they?
I don't remember that one.
Staff affected. Few staff, maybe not. Oh no, actually the opposite. They said that no staff tested positive. So when we say adjusted staffing to meet based on demand for services. I can figure it out.
Okay.
Don't put a whole lot of energy in it. I understand what they're saying. And so that's it for them. Let me summarize and we go to the last agency, okay? Let me save out of abundance of caution. Yes, ma'am.
I asked them the question and they gave me an answer, but I still couldn't figure out what numbers they use for their average cost per client.
Oh, we need to check that out. Okay. So cost per client, we know what it should be. So how about we do that? We look at how many clients were served last year. They reported serving 315 clients because they don't include the families. They only include the youth. So there's 315 clients divided into what was the program budget for last completed year. So we have to go to the overall program budget. So
Last
will
year
give you
was,
the cost.
okay, so the last fiscal year budget was 3,067,437.
I get off at 4. Now, we need to look at the program itself. So the program's
sorry.
budget. So the program's budget for last fiscal year was almost 1.2 million is what
Yeah.
you make sure I'm looking at the right. So we need to
1,195,473.
so we need to divide the 315 into that cost. And that is the program cost.
It's a lot.
3,800.
What was that, Arun?
Comes out to 3,800.
Any other comments? Any other comments you would like for me to add? No? Let me summarize this for you now. And if you come up with something, I can add it. Second year recommendation do not include depreciation in the budget worksheets, only cash. Program design, the program addresses a unique need in the community, and I'll use CRT's last year's comment. They clearly define the target population as well as the need for the program. They also gave a great breakdown of each component of the program in the program description, the outcome data collection table, excellent outcomes reported in all short-term, intermediate, as well as long-term. However, please include the client number that's applicable to the percentage provided in the long-term outcome. When calculating the cost per client rate, of course, divide the number of clients served by the entire program's operating budget. COVID response, reduce their capacity from 18 to 12. Also have a designated quarantine area. They modified intake screening protocols. I don't say if we want to say modified, but just enhanced, really, not modified. They are prioritizing serving youth with the most urgent needs, such as kids that are on the streets. And they had to adjust their staffing accordingly to the, basically, which probably meant that people lost hours, because if you have a lower number of clients, then you're required to have a lower number of staff doing that period. Justification of CHSP, they clearly explained, they gave a breakdown, and they clearly explained the need for additional CHSP funding. And with that, then the last one we have is Boys Town. I must take a 5-minute, unlike you guys. I'm gonna, can we just take a brief 5 minutes? So at the latest, we're back by, we're gonna go beyond 4 o'clock. I think you guys already realized that, right?
Well, we only have one more. Oh yeah, we got to do the other stuff too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, okay.
So how about we get back at the latest by 3, okay?
Okay.
All right, thank you. So is everyone back yet, Lauren? Okay. So Nancy, when you're ready, you can start with your Boys Town. That's the last agency on this team, right, everyone? I did not miss anyone, did I? Yeah, great. This is the most painful part. The other part gets a lot easier. Doing this assessment, it's laborious.
There's really only one comment that was something that they felt something needed to be done. And it says, overall, the outcome findings reported in the outcome data collection table clearly demonstrate how the program benefits the youth. However, when reporting outcome findings, you must include the number of clients that correlate with the percentages provided.
Okay, okay, so we'll do that at the end, once we look at all of the other program elements, but I put that down to make sure, because they're saying that they need client numbers. That's the main point about that, right, Nancy? Oh.
Yes, that's correct. And they do have them. I mean, I'm looking at it, so
Oh,
I think
okay.
they did that one.
Okay, I guess I'll go ahead and look at it then.
You know, 74 youth in the short term. That's the one place they have. They don't have it in long term or intermediate.
Yeah, so you still don't have measurable outcomes for the most important, and that's intermediate and long term.
I guess they're just making an assumption that you'll take that 74 and do the math yourself, but
Yeah, you
that's not how
can't,
it's supposed to work.
Yeah, and it wouldn't work anyway in a residential, because people are released from those programs at different times. All 74 are not on the same track. So
Yeah.
Okay. So this is basically new. In some ways, it may be faster for you guys. So any overall agency-wide comments? You've been looking at board diversity, just to be consistent with every agency. You've looked at their board diversity. You've looked at their policies and procedures, but any general comments? So I know if one general comment that you've done for all the other agencies is look at board diversity and capacity. So I would suggest we look at that first, that we look at that as well.
Well, I asked a question about the fact that they have more Black clients than white, but they have only 4 Black members on their, this is their advisory board. This is not the national one. And they said they had lost 2 Black members and they're trying to replace them. But, you know, in their defense, they do have 28% Black, which is close to the community percentage. So. Somebody asked a question about why they don't have any volunteers. They got 0 volunteers. Somebody asked that and got the answer, and I didn't write it down.
I asked that and they said that was a mistake.
Ah, okay. So, Dr. Fields, I assume that means they just left that number out?
How? I don't know.
It's weird. Okay.
That would be in the program budget section, overall program budget. Yeah.
They just have 0.
And I recall him not knowing how many they had.
Right.
I just had a whole bunch of them, you know, Right, that VOC couldn't remember the exam number.
You don't have to wait on me. I'm ready when, just give me comment.
Okay, I asked the question about why they have 58 out of their 70 clients in an unknown zip code.
Right.
And my recollection is they really could not explain that. I didn't, if they did, I did not understand the answer. So somebody enlighten me, because I just let it go. But that was very strange. They just don't collect that data, apparently.
Trying to make sure Shannon, make sure you muted, Shannon.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, you have a lot of feedback. Sorry about that. So, Nancy, let's get, if you could, we're going to go into client demographics, right? So we'll go look at climate demographics specific to the comment that Nancy made.
Their whole program, they only have 12 zip codes identified, and 58, they're unknown. But yet they say no homeless individuals.
Right.
So I don't, somebody, Pat, explain that to me. I don't get it.
I mean, I don't have an explanation because it is a shelter. So technically they could have put all of them in homeless.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's a shelter-based program, but the kids come from somewhere, and it's obviously, if it's a residential program, there is an extensive intake process completed on every applicant. I mean, just to get them enrolled in that program, whether they're coming from a different county or not, they have an address. These are children, so I don't have an explanation.
It just worries me because we're talking about county funding and city funding, and you know, there are kids everywhere who need help and need shelter. But I mean, what if they're coming from Georgia or Alabama? Or shouldn't we know that is the question? Or maybe we don't have to. I don't know.
I mean, we'd want to know what percentage are Leon County residents. Recognizing that when you're dealing with homeless, sometimes that's by the nature of people, they may wander. So, they may not have a fixed address, but so we'll just add that so they can explain that next year. Okay, let's see if they did the other part. And Anita may need, oh no, that's right, that's not for this program. So the client demographics, okay. Any other general comments you want to make? And they're only looking at one program, so it doesn't matter which category we go in, but any other comments regarding this agency and program? We can go into the specific program now, as far as, again, section B, program design, the same variables: documentation of need. Did they clearly explain the target population? Did they clearly describe the program, the services? Those are the areas that we also need to address. So any comments for those items that I just mentioned? You made a comment, Nancy, that about, and I don't know if I captured it all, about the zip codes. You said you asked them, what was that question you asked and you couldn't get that information about?
I specifically said you show 70 clients and 58 of them are at show no unknown zip codes. And how could that be? And they never really told me why there was no zip code information. They kind of just hem-hawed around and said, well, you know, they come from all over, but most of them are from Leon County. And it says that in the narrative. I'm not accusing them of anything, but I just didn't get a satisfactory answer and didn't feel like I didn't want to be rude about it, so I just let it go. But it just struck me as really odd. They just didn't answer my question.
Okay, all right. Okay, any comments about I'm ready for.
In the client demographics, they say that they're going to be serving, in the program, they're going to be serving 70 clients. That's in 1.3. In section 1.4, number 1 and number 2, they say that they are serving 62 boys and girls.
See that. I took that to mean they have served 70 this current year we're in, and they plan to serve 62.
What sections are you citing again, Dr. Fields?
Section, the client demographics 1.3. And that could be right. 1.3 was last year, and then what they're going to do for this year, maybe that's why it's different. 62 this year.
Yeah. Yes, you could have a difference there.
Right.
Yeah. So we'll take that out. We will remove that particular comment. Now, if that number differs from what's in the outcome data collection table, although even with that, it may be a difference because let's see what they say in the outcome data collection table. They cite 74.
So that's even a different number.
Golly.
Okay. So maybe they can explain it.
And this is the table that was commented on last year, that they didn't put the number of youth. They just put percentages.
Okay. 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 All right. Okay. Any other comments? How about did they clearly document the need for the program and define the target population, Lauren?
Target population was defined, but I felt like there was again, kind of the dancing around Leon County being the only place that the boys came from. Let me see if I can find where that was.
It says the majority are referred in Leon County, or received in Leon County.
Right. So it says majority, but it doesn't say if the surrounding counties are like adjacent to Leon County, like Wakulla, you know, the typical ones that we see.
Right.
And actually, that's contradictory if the zip code information provided is 58 out, you know.
How do they know?
I don't know.
Something's squirrely for sure.
Do you feel like they provided local current data documenting the need for the program?
They talked about Florida foster care.
Right.
They did mention how family style care is a specific model that they use, and it's had citations.
Leon County.
It looked like it was from a publication about residential treatment for children and youth. So not specific to Leon County.
Hmm.
It looks like they cite several pieces of data, but none of it
What's the,
to Leon County.
what section are you in? For some reason, I'm all over the place. What section are you in the application?
Section 1.4, number.
Yeah, there's it right there. Okay, I'm just missing it. It's in my face.
Section, I mean, B.
Yeah, I have it. I just went over it. Oh, so this is specific to Florida and not to Leon County. Okay. Make sure that is that I just wrote that statement, but I want to make sure that statement is true, but I don't see Leon County data.
No.
It's not there. Okay. Okay, so therefore it likes local data. Target population was a little unclear. We've already, I think you guys have already addressed the outcome data. Or have we looked at it? I might have just wrote down what Nancy stated. Let's look at the outcome data collection table. Okay, we talked about that. Yeah, that's right. Okay. We already captured that information, so we're okay with that. So that's it for that. Let's look at any impact of the COVID-19 virus on the program.
I wrote in my notes, they have an added expense because staff has to spend more one-on-one time with the kids. But the quality is not affected, but the services are more expensive.
And it said the ability to effectively do job had some restrictions.
Nancy, what expensive? Because if it's what expensive? I know you said there was an added expense, but what?
What I wrote was
How did
added,
that? Did they have to hire additional staff, or what expenses? I know that they spoke about they have to take on a lot of the teaching duties of the schools, because. But what expenses are we speaking of? I'm trying to.
I have down they needed additional support.
What support?
I don't know.
Your other comments have been more definitive, and the other agencies, you actually were able to define what that support meant. So I'm just trying to get you to be more definitive.
think one of my problems with this is this is the first agency we had, and this extra added thing about what effect has COVID had on your agency. I just was not understanding what we were doing as well as we progress, and my notes are just not very good. Just have added expense because staff has to spend more one-on-one time.
Did he say additional groceries because they're in the house all the time?
I don't have that.
I think that's, no, I made that up. Okay.
Yeah, it could have. I just
I also remember specifically asking about the van charges, and because a large chunk of almost $4,000 was on travel, and they're not going to use that if they're not going anywhere for a while. And I think maybe that's where he said that money would be best redirected for other house needs.
I remember you're asking that question, and you said, that's where we got the money to, in places where we needed extra money. But once again, was not specific, I don't think. I think we just didn't press them enough on this.
Since we're talking about it, why don't we go to the CHSP funding request to see if in fact the needs have changed in that, then they would have had the opportunity to modify the CHSP funding request accordingly. Let's see if what does that say?
Let's see here.
One family home.
They have not provided any narrative explanation of anything. They're still
Okay.
Isn't this the person when I ask, they could fiscally justify the, what was that? This question in number 1, he said that this is the same that they asked for last year. They just didn't get it, so they don't see it as an increase.
Oh, yeah, that's a. Okay. You want me to, are you ready for me to summarize, or are you still looking at other comments that you would like to add in this for this agency? Or are you ready for me to summarize? Okay. In summary, you strongly encourage the agency to diversify its board of directors and advisory board. Please ensure that you include volunteers utilizing the program. It is mandatory that the agency includes zip codes for all participants. This concern was expressed, however, no specific answer was provided. Regarding the outcome data collection table, they need to include client numbers applicable to the percentages provided for intermediate and long-term outcomes. That they provided inconsistent numbers in the client numbers in the application. Just explain why they're different. And specifically, we're talking about the number of clients served for the last completed year in comparison to the number that's listed in the outcome data collection table. They clearly defined the target population. Well, you guys said something else about the target population. Well, this is a little bit, I'll write this up into two, but in reference to the social aspects of the client. However, you still are confused by how many clients are actually were residents of Leon County. And also the other concern, or what makes this even also confusing, because the agency listed that 58 of the clients have unknown zip codes. Although the agency provided Florida documentation of need data, they did not provide Pacific data to Leon County. As far as the COVID-19 response, they noted that they need additional support. They also noted that the staff has to spend more one-on-one time with the clients, and one of those additional costs, for example, that was expressed with food, the cost for food. Justification for CHS funding, the agency did not explain or justify the need for additional CHSB funding, although this is a mandatory requirement. When asked about changes in costs such as transportation, the agency noted that it could use those funds to offset other fiscal needs. Anything else you want me to add before we close up this section?
I think that's it.
Okay. The next step that you will do is rank order all programs. Sala sent you that sheet earlier. So take a few minutes, and we have what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 programs on this team. So you're going to rank order 1 through 10, with 1 being the highest prioritized program to address the current needs in the community, and 10 being the least. Okay, so take about 10 minutes. It usually takes people about 10 minutes to do that. So take 10 minutes, and then and to complete that, and Sala will share the next document so that we can actually do average scores. Do you guys want me to send email this draft of comments to you, or do you feel like you
I
exactly?
would like that if you would.
Virginia.
I would like to also.
Okay. So Virginia, can you is Virginia, if you're on the line, can you send this to everyone, or Sala?
Yes, I got that. Yeah.
Okay, I'll send it to you right now. Okay, and I have. So, Dr. Fields, if you could lead this and just call out your members when you're ready for each person to give their numbers. All of us will have to be on mute when one person speaks so we can hear each other clearly. So please please put yourself on mute if you're not speaking. You see how different that is? And so if you could, the easiest way for Sala to conduct this exercise, if you could go down the exact order that the programs are listed on your sheet, because she's using the exact same spreadsheet as yourselves, starting with Boys Town Family Home. If you could give her that ranking and go straight down all the way and ending on Turnabout's school intervention program, okay? And with that, I will
Okay.
turn it over to Dr. Fields.
Okay, for mine, it's Boys Town is 5. Breon 1. 3. 10. 4. 7. 1. 6. 8. And 9.
Sala, please look at Dream Builders. Okay, I got you.
So she has 2 1s.
Yeah, I ranked both the same, but I don't have a 2. I went to 3.
You can't do that, Madam Chairperson. So you, we're gonna have to let you go.
Okay,
You can go
make
last.
no. Okay, make
Okay.
Breon 2. Make Breon 2.
Okay.
Okay, I'll go. This is Nancy. Mine are 6, 1, 3, 3 for, yeah, there you go. Yeah, 10, 5, 4, 2, 7, 9, and 8.
Shonda.
I have 2, 3, 10, 5, 4, 1, 7, 9.
Well, what's that? Oh.
Hello, this is Shannon.
What was that?
What did
And I
you say,
think that
Sarah?
was intensive outpatient for Shonda. What number is that for you, Shonda?
9.
Camp 9? Sorry, I could barely hear you.
You have it, Sarla?
I couldn't hear you.
Shonda?
How much? What's that?
That's correct.
3? Did you say 3?
Who is next?
For which one? For which one?
Shonda has already done hers. Shonda, is this correct for you?
Yes.
I'll go.
Okay, Shannon.
Okay, let me get you to it fast. All right, you ready?
Okay,
Okay.
you're coming in really garbled. I'm not sure if other people can hear me better.
Okay, are you ready?
I'm ready, but I can't hear you properly. But go ahead. I'll tell you if I can hear
4, 5, 2, 5 should be pace, then 2 for reptiles, then 6. Where are you now?
Starla, can you change Oasis to 6? All right, Shana, so we have Oasis at 6, and that's the last I heard.
Okay, hold on. And refuge should be 2, and then turnabout 6.
Is it the intensive outpatient is 6?
Yes, and school is 7.
Did anybody else get
Okay, so she
What
said
is
intensive
Oasis?
outpatient is 6, and then school intention is 7. Shannon, this is Virginia. Oh, 5.
what?
It's not Oasis. Oasis should be 6.
Yep. Okay, Oasis is 6.
And then what's outpatient is 8. Then school is 7.
Okay, so change intent. There you go, Starla, you got it.
Thank you.
Lauren?
Your
Lauren,
volume.
sorry, you were muted. Can you start over?
5, 2, 4, 10, 1, 7, 3, 9, 8, 6.
Rachel?
Okay. 8, 3, 2, 10, 4, 6, 1, 5, 9, 7.
Ron? Is the Ron on?
Are we waiting on someone?
Ron hasn't done his.
Oh, Aron?
Yes. I keep calling him. Is he on?
I don't see him. I don't hear, Aron? He's on. I don't, his sound is off. Aron, your sound is off. Okay.
Hello?
We're ready for your rankings.
Hello?
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Okay. Yeah, is it possible to go ahead of me? I'm not at my computer right now. I had to run out for an emergency. But if you give me like just a lift, about another 5 to 10 minutes, I'll be in front of it again.
I think you're the last one. So do you guys want
Am I
to?
the last one?
Yeah. So what's your pleasure, Madam Chairperson? Do you want to take you'd have to take another break because we can't go to the next step without having all the rankings. So we would have to go on break until Aron gets to his computer.
I think we need him.
Okay. So Ron, we're going to wait on you. So can you please let us know as soon as you get the capacity?
Yeah, as soon as I get back, I'll shoot that over. Okay.
Okay. Thank
All right,
you.
thank you.
So guys, we'll take a break until around 4 o'clock when Aaron comes back, okay?
Okay. I've got Boys Town at,
What's that?
I should have 9, right? I must have missed one.
10 programs, 9 agencies.
Just take another minute and look at your sheet. No problem, Arun, okay?
Oh, I know what it was. It's because Turnabout had 2 programs, so 10. Okay, that's where I missed one. Okay, now I'm ready. All right.
Okay.
So Boys Town, I have 7. Rehan, 4. CCYS, 3. Dream Builders at 8. Good News Outreach at 5. Pace at 2. Refuge House at 1. Oasis 6. And Turnabout 9 and 10.
Did I miss something?
Just so you understand the spreadsheet, so Sala has ranked the programs with the lowest number being number 1 and the highest number being your rank number 9, because you have 2 programs that tied. So then you have in column M, that is the current allocation that each program is receiving. And column N is their funding requests. And I think, column P, Salo, what does that show? What percentage is that showing you? That's a percent that.
Is what the allocation's going to be. Sorry. The allocation.
Yeah, but is that compared to the current allocation or compared to the request? I'm trying to tell them.
This column?
Right.
It's the allocation, this year's allocation minus last year's allocation as a percentage of last year's allocation.
So this percent here will give us the, in column G, once we put an allocation for column P, for example. Well, you've got it here where it's B, C, but column, I'm just using the headings on the spreadsheet, and the grade area is what I'm referencing. So this here, P or D, whichever number letter you want to utilize, this compares how much they're recommending for an allocation compared to the agency's current allocation, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Madam Chairperson, Dr. Fields, you will be working with your team. Basically, the way that we've been placing the various recommendations, you would start with your number one ranked program and go downward until you all balance the budget, and everyone in this group is that you can derive at a consensus based on the availability of funding. As you can see, the current amount of money allocated on this team is $338,487. The available funds to allocate on this team is $355,148. As you can see, you have very little extra additional money to allocate, okay? This is not guaranteed funding on this team, so it's up to you to determine the amount. And with that, I'm going to step back and let Dr. Fields take over the allocation process.
Okay, our number one agency is Refuge House Courthouse, and we see what their current allocation is. And what do we want to do with them? They're number one. And I think they had asked for like 35, I think.
Sorry.
Is that correct, Starla?
I'm sorry. I'm not sure what, okay.
Okay. So they've asked for 35. What do you think?
I think if we give them what they ask for, we will have almost nothing left for anybody else to get an increase.
That's true. So what do we want to, and this doesn't have to be the final round. We just need to see where we go with the money. So what do we want to do first?
This is Lauren. I'm comfortable. Line items with indirect costs at about $3,000. So we can automatically bump that off because we don't know what it's for and it's not allowable.
Okay, is everyone agreeable with 30,000 right now? Knowing that we may have to come back and change that?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Yes.
All right. Number two is Breon House, and they're not asking for anything more than what they got last year.
Well, for the moment, just leave them there. Let's see what happens. We hate to have to reduce the number two group.
Is everyone in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Number three, someplace else with CCYS, and they're asking for about 8,000 more. Number three. Any suggestions?
Maybe give them half of that. So bump them up to 75.5.
Support that.
Fine with me.
All right, 75.5. Good News Outreach.
Yeah, that's a large jump. What if
40.
we doubled and just kept it at 48 and see how the numbers pan out?
Fine with me. I don't think it'll stand, but we can start there.
I was thinking more like maybe 30, 35.
About 38.
Are you okay with 38?
Yes.
Okay, PACE.
About 14.
Are you okay with 14 for PACE right now?
Yes.
Yes, no?
Yes.
Okay, Oasis. $17.
17, good, yeah.
Boys Town.
We gave them 2 the same way we gave Oasis, since they're tied. That would be 40,057. Just saying.
Okay. We can try that for now.
40,000, how much?
57, just give them
57.
2,000 more, yeah.
And we're down at Turnabout School Intervention Program. I say 35
I agree with that.
or under. What does anybody else say?
I don't think they're going to need a whole lot of a program because of what's going on with schools. If we give money to Turnabout, it'd probably, in my opinion, be better to give it to intensive outpatient, but that's just me.
That's
I agree.
that's yeah, I agree too. So we're going to say 25.
Yeah, 30 is good. Don't leave it too bad. Yeah, 30.
And intensive outpatient.
Well, give them the 5 we took away from school intervention. So they would go up to 9517.
I agree with that.
Okay, and then Dream Builders.
Bless their hearts. 30,000 from 20 to 30.
Right. We have 9,349 left.
Give it to them. Let's go home.
Okay, we need to.
You're already home.
We are home. Is everybody satisfied with what we have for everybody right now?
I am, so I'm gonna mute.
Is silence yes or no? So Lauren has a thumbs up. Nancy says yes, and she's muted. What about everybody else?
Shannon's giving you a thumbs up.
Okay.
Yes,
Who's that?
this is Rachel.
Okay, Rachel. What did you say, Shonda?
Yes.
Okay. Arun?
Arun, yeah.
I guess
Mute, I think.
No, you don't have to give people increases unless you deem so. And you have to look at the comments that you put in your award, in the evaluation, okay?
So this is Lauren, and I was okay. And then I started looking at the percentages of increase and realized that our number one program has a 12% increase. And our number 6 program at Oasis Center has a 13% increase. And that just seems a little weird. And the same goes for the Pace Center is a 17% increase. So if we're looking at equity, we should probably give our number one program a few more percentage points there. But that's my only and final.
What would happen if we gave Refuge House what they requested? Gave them the 35. What is that? Could you just put that in and let's see how much in the hole we are? Because I'm not good with subtracting in my head.
So that's 5,000 in the hole.
5,000, okay.
And I mean, we could take from some of the lower ranked programs or higher ranked programs.
Yeah, intensive outpatient with 111% increase, probably not sending a great message.
So we want to give them what they had last year, or do we want to?
Maybe give them 5,000.
Yeah. What do you all think about 5,000?
Okay with that. And then pull the difference from Dream Builders.
Yeah, good idea. There you go.
So is everybody satisfied with what we have?
Okay, let's see who got the biggest percentage increase. Good news.
Good news.
What they asked for was considerably more than 100%.
And Dream Builder's got a big one too.
Got a big ding, yeah. This is hard. I hate this part. I hate it, hate it, hate it.
Well, we can't give any more to 1 or to 2 because they got exactly what they asked for, and we can't give any more than that. Do we want to take some and give more to CCYS?
It's our number 3 program.
Where would you take it from?
Good news.
Good news.
Oh, yes. So maybe bring good news down to 35.
Yeah, and give that $3,000 to someplace else. That puts him up to 78-ish. There you go. So 1 got what they asked for. 2 got what they asked for. 3 got pretty close to what they asked for, $1,500 off. 4 got a big bump. More of a bump than 5 did.
Those are different types of programs too. So also look at that. One's residential, one is not. One is a housing, essential housing for Alice population. And so you got to look at all of that. And then why are they asking for money? You put in your letter about professionalization of staff. So just look at everything when you're making, and that's for every single program, every variable.
That's my instinct as well. Like, honestly, is that Good News has incredible wraparound services and all these other things. And it's just a different, I don't know. I guess PACE is a statewide program. It's a local branch of a statewide program versus Good News, which is local.
So is Boys Town. They get a lot of money from their national organization.
Right.
And I like this new executive director at Good News. I just think he is going to really kick some serious fundraising butt. He's going to do a good job, I think.
And I think PACE had a good donor stream, so they would be able to bounce back.
Like $2,000 taken from PACE is able to be made up, whereas it may not be for someone else. So that's my only consideration. I don't know where else to put it, but
so you're saying just give PACE the 12? Is that what you're saying, Lauren?
that's what I was thinking. But I mean, I don't have a very solid justification for that.
I'd like to talk a little bit more, if we could, about dream builders. I ranked them 10th because I thought, relative to the other applications and the other justifications and so on, that they were the least well done. But some of the points that Arun made about how they do have a unique idea about getting into families and improving families in their homes. Just look at that 50%, 56%. Just seems like we could help them a little bit more. If I did anything, I'd take the 2 from PACE and give it to Dream Builders, but that's just me. I hate to discourage people from trying. Too much bleeding heart, maybe. Sorry.
So maybe give them an even 10.
Yeah. Half of what they asked for. Everybody else chime in because everybody ranked them low. It's not just me.
Well, that's half of what they got this year.
Right.
I think I agree, Nancy. I think $60,000 was a total overshoot for them for the quality of the application. But I don't want to discourage them from moving forward and reapplying. So I would like to give them something, whether it's 8 or 10 or just something.
So
I agree with that. Yeah.
If we give them 10, then we have a few $100s we got to take away from somebody else. Maybe that would be what we take from PACE.
That's what we'll take from PACE, yeah.
Yeah, take from PACE, yes.
Shannon, are you trying to say something?
Yeah, I just said give the Dream Builders 10 and just give PACE back to 12.
what if we went ahead and gave Boys Town what they asked for, the 4841 instead of the 4057?
Shannon, are you saying give them what they currently are funded at?
I didn't say that. I think that was Shonda.
That was Rachel.
To give who what?
Boys Town, just to kind of see how the math would pan out.
I think what she meant was giving them their request.
What they asked for, right?
Yeah, 4841.
So how do you justify that based on what you put in your own evaluation and based on 6? So you're actually, I mean, you're contradicting your own assessment that you just made, where you said they didn't give you numbers for the outcomes and they didn't state whether these are residents of Leon County or not. So think about what you're doing because it's not in alignment with what you put in your writing, and you are subject to an appeals.
And I just can't see, giving Brehon 0% increase, giving Pace 0% increase, and then giving Boys Town 7% increase when they rank lower. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, Breon, we can't give them any more than what they requested. I don't see giving them, I don't see giving Boys Town what they requested.
Okay.
We gave 2 programs their requests, number 1 and number 2.
Right.
Number 3, we gave them within $1,500 of what they requested. Those make sense to me. Those are logical. Then we give Boys Town a percentage. We give them what they requested, but we didn't do that for Good News. I think we get dinged on that. I really do.
Yeah, me too. If anything, I'd like to give them what they had last year.
Oh, okay.
Try that and see what happens. And then we could give Good News a little bit more. I mean, they're just number 4.
How much more do we want to give them?
$37.
Yeah, say give them a couple thousand more. And maybe the other 866 to Pace.
Yes, that's what I was going to suggest.
Okay. That looks a little better.
We still are, we've got 2 groups that are tied, Oasis and Boys Town. Boys Town is a national organization. Oasis is local. So I can see where they have a little bit more of a challenge. Otherwise, I think this looks pretty fair.
everyone satisfied with what we have?
Yeah, I think it looks good.
Yes.
Didn't hear from everybody.
Yes.
Did Ron say anything?
No? Ron, you there?
His video is turned off. I bet he's gone again.
The decision belongs to you group, your group then.
Okay, let me just call names. You tell me yes or no, because I can't see everybody. So Nancy,
Yes.
Shonda,
Yes.
Yes.
Rachel,
Yes.
Lauren,
Yes.
and I'm a yes, and Iran is not here, so that's it.
Good job, everybody.
Okay. So you have done your job for the day, and you're only 37 minutes over time. That's pretty good considering
It's pretty good.
the length of time it took to do each analysis. So that's pretty darn good. We normally always go over time anyway, even in person, right?
That's
So
right.
it sounds like everyone is comfortable with their recommendations,
Yep.
and therefore. So the next step is for you to make sure your assessment guides are done for every agency in each program. And I need you to email those documents to Virginia. Can you, and hopefully you can do that by tomorrow or at the latest by Wednesday. And then we have to keep that, as you know, it does not have a place for you to put your name on it deliberately. So don't self-identify. We keep that anonymous, but yet that is a public record so that if anyone wanted to look at those evaluations, they can do so. Okay.
Okay.
And
I will send mine in on Wednesday.
Do we have to Virginia, Sarah? Sarah.
Virginia, please.
Okay,
Virginia.
thank you.
I want to thank you all because I know this was it's a long process. It just feels longer on when you're stationed in one spot on a computer all day. So thank you guys so much. It was important that we had the process this year, even if we had to do it virtually, because we had to make some sound decisions on behalf of the community. Because the bottom line, you guys determine what services are available to the citizens for the next 2 years in reference to our limited local available funding. So we hope one day that folks will prioritize human services and give us additional funding to support the needs of this community. So so that's definitely one of our hopes and wishes in the long run. Madam Chairperson. And our timekeeper, want to thank you guys for your leadership role. So thank you so much, Dr. Fields and Lauren, for taking the leadership role.
You're welcome.
And Dr. Fields, do you want to say anything to your team before we depart?
Thank everybody for a really smooth process, because sometimes this last process can get really, really hectic, but everybody was agreeing and that was really, really good. I appreciate that.
It's funny, we've had the least amount of conflicts ever before in the history of CHSP. And I guess maybe people are in a different frame of mind about, it's a whole different frame of mind, must be, because we have not had a single conflict on a single. team so far.
By the time we get here, our brains are tired.
I guess so. Or if you're like me, because I've been spending four days a week, 5 days, but 4 days, like last week, we probably had about 9 agencies on the average a day. So that was 9 times 4. And by the end of the week, and my eyes have been swelling because of the strain on my eyes so much from being on a computer.
Wow.
This is, yeah. I mean, but when you're on it that intensely, it can start hurting your eyes.
So I have
So
a
thank
question.
you guys so much.
I have a
Yes,
question,
ma'am.
Pat. This is again a 2-year thing. Yes. So we won't
Yes,
do
it
this
is.
again for 2 years. So hopefully by then
Yes.
we'll have the virus under control and we can meet in person again. Yes.
No, I am so ready for, I'm so ready for my life back. I can't, and I imagine everyone is, but the way I stop myself from doing self-pity is thinking about, imagine if you were a college student, imagine you were a kid. Because, you know, we all had our normal childhood experiences for the most part. And can you imagine losing those fundamental milestones now? So when I think about what the children are going through, and even what the parents who have young children are going through, then I humble myself. I find it very, very humbling. And then I said, okay, you have nothing to complain about. Okay, so keep a perspective. You're alive, and you know, we're lucky. I had a couple of family members that did have the COVID-19 virus. My first cousins, but they both lived, they survived it. So again, considering what many families in America are going through right now, I will not allow myself to have too much self-pity.
Yeah, I had a friend who mother died from coronavirus, and 2 days later her father died.
Ooh, now that is unbelievable, guys. I mean,
I know.
and I've seen that. I just can't even fathom the pain that would be.
I know.
So all of us are just you know, have to be grateful, and at least, you know, at least this is one way you gave back in the community. I find this more stressful in a way because you know, normally you can give back in the community more physically of yourself when people are hurting, but this is the one disease that doesn't even allow you, if you have a risk factor, like I have asthma, so I can't even go physically in the community and help, which normally makes me feel better. And I think a lot of people feel better when they can physically go out and make a difference in folks' lives, but this is quite an experience, to say the least.
It is.
I want to say thank you, Pat, your team as well. This has been an incredible like pivot for y'all, I know, to change this whole process and move it online. And it's been really smooth for me anyway, to like register. And I think others can agree. We're just grateful that you guys made the effort to keep this process as citizen oriented as possible.
Thank you so much. I couldn't, we all worked as a team, Sala, Virginia, Anita. They were instrumental in transitioning this process. So hats off to, I'm very fortunate. I get to work with a great team of women, and they're willing to do whatever it takes to get the job done. So I'm real thankful for that as well. So thank you, Lauren, for your compliment to my team. We appreciate that. So I wish you guys well. I wish what I'm doing nowadays is making sure that we do like it's called the group hug. It's a virtual hug I've created. So hopefully you guys can feel my love and my squeezing of yourselves around. So I normally hug you whenever I see you once a year. So I had to say, I said to one of my favorite parts of the job is working with you guys, and so I feel a little bit slighted because I got a little bit of you, but to be with you guys in person it's been such a rewarding experience for me, and I love to listen to how you guys think I always find it incredible to listen. The processing part is what thrills me the most, because I'll learn something different. I'll learn a different perspective, and a way of thinking. And that's why diversity is so important. If you look at the realities that when you have diverse teams, you actually come up with the best products. That's part of, all of us have different frameworks, different experiences that we bring to the table that complements us as a whole. So thanks a lot. And
You're right.
I wish every one of you the best. And I'm supposed to have a separation of church and state, but I give out my prayers to you all and your families.
Thank you. And you too, Pat.
Thank you,
Thank
Pat.
you so much. So guys, take care and hope to see you soon.
Yes. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye, thanks.